And 3, 2, 1, here we go. Everybody, welcome to the Airbnb Automated Club. You are in the room, the hard truth about get rich quick. We are live streaming to YouTube. So for those of you who, well actually now Androids can patch in. So if you're watching this on YouTube, no matter what device you have, you probably can get to Clubhouse right now and actually come in and watch. We might even let you raise your hand and ask a question if you'd like. The way that we're going to do this room is we're going to introduce our moderators with a question. It allows you to get to better know these awesome moderators that are up here and of course myself. And what we all have in common is we've all worked our tail off to build something. And we want to talk to you about the hard truth about get rich quick, because for a lot of you prospecting new opportunities, I feel like you probably get pounded every day online something where you should throw your money into some type of crypto or some type of other business. And I'm not knocking crypto because it could still be cool. But just every type of opportunity online gets thrown at you, right? And so how do you stay focused and how do you discern how you're going to get rich, right? And so that's what I want to talk about today is the truth about getting rich quick. So, oh, hey, we've got a couple other people who can come up to speak if they would like. So let's do this with Ellie first and then work our way down. Ellie, do you have any fun memories of a time that somebody pitched you a get rich quick scheme that was just absolutely not legit?
Sean, let's see. Not legit, get rich quick scheme. I can't think of one. Pass. I'm moving on.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of rare. Actually, you know what? I'll start just to make them to give kind of context. When I was 19 in college, I was approached by somebody to sell. They approached me to come to a meeting, right? They wanted me to come to a meeting full of like successful people. And when we showed up to this meeting in Milwaukee, it's me, my girlfriend, and my drummer, because I was in a band, there were these like 3 just extremely charming people, 2 females and this guy, with this whiteboard talking about selling some like thing called Genesis juice, right? And I think it was a resveratrol supplement. And they start talking about how, you know, you buy these juices and you sample them to people and get them to buy these juices, and they're on auto ship, and if you get 3 people to buy these juices, then you get this percentage, and if they get 3 people to buy these juices, and they're basically building a pyramid off of these monthly auto ship of juices. That was my first time being in one of those. And I was actually dumb enough to sign up for a different one called Market America right after that, because they were selling nutraceuticals like powdered vitamins that were like really easy to digest. So even like me going to a pitch meeting for an MLM, I still got caught into one, and then I got mad that I was in one, so I started researching them all to try to find out if they were legit or not. And then in Houston, when I like started doing Airbnb, there's a guy who was selling like a coffee one, and he's like, "Hey, come to my country club, right? Let's hang out and have lunch." It wasn't lunch at a country club. He pretty much locked me in a basement where there's no cell phone reception in a country club in Sugar Land with him and like 4 of his guys, and then trying to pitch me to start this business. And I didn't even get lunch. Like it was the strangest thing. I felt like I was hostage. So I've bumped into a lot of them, and a lot of them are MLMs and some are not, but those are mine. Anybody have anything like that that's fun that you've been through?
Okay, I have one. I think I have the same story. It's like a timeshare thing. You had to sit there forever, like all day, and you get like a free night. But in reality, it was just so treacherous. It was so long. We never did it. I mean, it was, yeah, I can relate. Definitely don't like not getting lunch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like if you don't buy the timeshare, you don't get lunch. It's just not fair. Anybody else in the moderators have a, actually here, I'm going to open it up too now. Not only do you have a fun story where maybe somebody tried to pitch you one, but has anybody ever accused you or your business model of being a get-rich-quick scheme?
So mine is definitely not that the second one, but let me just tell you all, I am an absolute sucker because I never want to hurt people's feelings. And so, yeah, this is the story of my life. I come from a family of people who fall for these things. So it started back with my grandparents who sold Amway. Yep, Amway. And needless to say, they did not get rich selling Amway. They just, you know, sold people some laundry detergent and a few other things. I think back at that time, Amway was doing makeup even. So my grandmother did the whole color wheel thing on me and decided that I was a winter and tried to encourage me to buy certain colored clothing and so on and so forth. So then it went from there into my story where I actually lost money getting into Mary Kay. Could not for the life of me sell skincare. People were always happy to buy makeup from me, but anybody who knows anything about makeup can last for months, and so you would not be able to actually get any kind of return customers unless you could convince them to use these skincare products, which you would go through faster. So I lost several $1,000s trying to sell Mary Kay. The only one that even partially worked for me was Scentsy. When Scentsy came out, got into that, had my monthly greet at my house where all my clients could come and buy their wax melts and whatever new wax, melters they wanted and that sort of thing. And then that quickly became uninteresting and fell by the wayside as well. So yes, I definitely have those stories. Yeah.
That's fun. And I think we share that. Like, I was convinced that I would be capable of selling products, and that's how they got me in Market America. Was they're like, yeah, you're gonna do so great at this, and they made me feel special. I still think I'm special, but
the key to this is that that's the same concept for me, is that they try to convince me that I was a salesperson, and now on the back end, I recognize that I was never born or bred to be a salesperson. And the only reason why Scentsy even worked for me on some level, and I think this will plug into a lot of other people here, is that I actually believed in the product itself. I used it in my home. I have a thing about smell. And so I don't like for anything to smell bad. And so I used these Scentsy products in my home all the time. So it was easy for me to kind of pitch them because I believed in what they were doing, right? And I think that's the key to selling on many levels, is being passionate about what you're selling.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Can I just interject one more? I actually remember now. Last year, I lent someone $100,000 on a scheme. This person was so trained.
Wow.
He was like, we're going to buy these masks, these like PPPE masks, and it's like an invoice, and you're going to get 20% of your money back. And so I lent him like 70 on the first round, and I got my money back. I got like 92 back. And then the second time I lent my money, I asked for collateral in a house on a promissory note. And it was a good thing that I did that, because I didn't on the first round, because on the second round, he dodged, and he's like wanted by a ton of other people that he screwed over. But yeah, so I'm foreclosing on this house here in like a month or so.
Holy cats. That's a fun one. Good job on that second round, getting smart and taking some collateral. That's huge. So guys, let's actually expand a little bit out too, to create a little bit more involvement with the moderators here. So we can see that there's always a lot of people scheming, trying to, push get rich quick schemes, or people are trying to find them because, obviously people, like with their whole financial pain, they want out of their financial situation. So get rich quick schemes can be appealing, right? Because they try to sell to somebody's need to get out of their situation. So what is that like? If you could help people digest, like, what would be the moral of the story, like as far as the hard truth of get rich quick, like, what does it actually take to make money, regardless of the opportunity that you're in, whether you get pushed into one of these things or you start your own business? Do you guys have any anecdotes for persons who are prospecting an opportunity? What are some truths that like are always going to be true if you've tried to start your own business, go independent contractor, go freelance? Anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that.
Go for it, Mark.
So while you were talking about the schemes, one of the things that I was thinking about for myself was when I first got my real estate license, I wouldn't call real estate brokerage necessarily a get-rich-quick scheme, but the promise of it is that if you get your license, you will have the ability to get rich. And when you're newer and more naive, you feel like once you do go through that whole process and get licensed, that clients and then followed by money are just going to rain from the sky. And you learn very quickly that you can do very well. But it's definitely, you mentioned the word grind earlier, it's a grind to get to where you want to go. And so I think the point that you're trying to make is in any business, you can get rich. But if there's a lot of opportunity, you can be sure that there's also going to be a lot of competition. If you're in a newer industry, there might not be as much at the beginning, but once people learn about it, they're all going to jump into the fray. And so you can get there, but it's just going to be a lot more work and a lot more of a grind than that promise that you're going to get it quickly.
Right on. Heather, go for it.
Sean, I think really what it boils down to is that if you want to make money, you need to do a deep dive into yourself first before you make any more steps. So in Mark's case, it's likely that this was something that he was already passionate about as far as like real estate, that sort of thing, before even taking that step, knowing that, hey, listen, I want to be able, I guess the key here is, can you get up out of bed every morning, set your feet on the ground, and say to yourself, I'm excited about what I'm doing today? Because if you can say that, then you're moving in the right direction. If you cannot, then it's going to feel like even more of a grind, and you're likely not going to be as successful as what you are hoping that you will be. So do a deep dive before taking the first step so that you know where your true self lies before you make a decision on where you're going to put your time and your grind, because it won't feel as much like a grind if you're actually doing something that you love doing.
Yeah. So question for you guys, passion or curiosity, which one is more important at that point when you're getting started?
Hey, Sean, it's Nick.
Hey, Nick, welcome up.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me on stage. So, for me, I think it's passion, because if you love something and you're interested in it, you're going to be committed, as opposed to just curiosity. You may start and then stop. And so, one thing, everything I've read and done, I'm now on my third fintech startup. There are some cases of get rich quick. They're statistically in the tiny percentages. They're a complete anomaly. And those that actually are lucky enough to get rich quick, they generally lose it quickly after that. So it takes time and a lot of hard work. And you look at every success story, there's like a long backstory to how they got there most of the time. And a quick word on avoiding these get-rich-quick schemes. I was in regulatory compliance, and my firm is like a matchmaker between investors and advisors, whether you're rich or poor, and we do a lot of due diligence on advisors in our network. And for those people that are pitching a get-rich-quick scheme where it's not their own company, there's 2 regulatory databases that are free where you can check people out. And not always, but often, this person's been bounced out of a regulated industry. And so sometimes you can find out that this person has been a fraud for their whole life. A guy named Nick Cosmo on Long Island right after Madoff, who just was posted, he died, Madoff just died in jail. But this guy was the little Madoff, and he made up to $400 million. But if his investors just took the time to check him out on a free regulatory database, they would have found out the guy was barred from the securities world. And so that is one way to potentially find someone who's selling a fraudulent scheme. So anyway, a couple of quick words there.
That's actually pretty killer that they made a database like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's existed. And look, the government's not really great at a lot of things, and promoting this, they've been horrible at. These 2 databases have been around for over 20 years, but very few people check them out. And you can find out if you're a financial advisor, is a felon or, has had, 30 complaints. And very few people, even people with advisors, check them out. It's sad. They should, to know who you're really dealing with. But yeah, it's true.
That's awesome. So Mark and Heather, you flashed your mics too.
Yeah, I just 100% believe that it's passion first over curiosity, because I'm curious about a whole hell of a lot of things that I have no passion about. So I 100% would just, second what Nicholas said.
All right. And Mark?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think it's passion that drives everything else, including curiosity. The other thing, too, is if you start with curiosity, if you don't have the passion for something, you're not going to pursue that curiosity. You're just going to, as Nick said, you kind of just going to stop along the way because you just don't feel strongly about it. I want to say something about Heather's point, too, about learning about yourself first and what your strengths and weaknesses are and what your passions and what you dislike is. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So if you want to go into a business, you could have different ways of getting there. So for example, if somebody wants to do Airbnb arbitrage, being a good salesperson or loving to cold call is definitely a strength in that business. It's not a strength for me. I feel my strength in a business or something that I'm passionate about is customer or guest service. So I come at the hospitality industry from that perspective. And I think if you're curious about an industry and want to get into it, figure out what it is you like to do first or are passionate about, your strength is. And at the beginning, when it's just you might have to do those things you don't like to until you get there. But when you get to a certain point, partner up with somebody else who is a super person in whatever it is you feel like you don't want to do or you're not good at. And as a team, that's the sum of that will be greater than the individual parts.
Yeah, I like that. That's great advice, and I agree.
I love that, Sean. Mark, you and I, we've got to connect, because that's exactly how, you know, I feel about my business. There are aspects of my business that I just am like, please, someone take this away from me. But I know that it's going to move me in the direction of getting to what the end goal is, what my passion is in this industry. And so, yeah, I 100% agree with that and think it's amazing. Hey, Sean, I want to hear from Haley.
Yes, Haley, I know you tapped in. Are you there? I should have probably checked your phone earlier.
Hi, how's it going, everybody? I am here. Good morning. I definitely am gonna probably sound repetitive, but I 100% also agree with passion being the thing that guides at least me first. I originally started working for you, and I just desperately, needed to get out of the situation I was in. And honestly, just for everybody to see, I wasn't even really planning on staying around forever, but I actually started to fall in love with, the concept of the business. And I was like, wow, this is actually like really exciting. I'm involved in helping something, grow and become better, which I've always been passionate about. Prior to working for Sean, I was a personal trainer, and I was passionate about helping people. And I still am. That's kind of actually the root of why I do what I do. I'm passionate about all of our employees and everybody on our team, and watching this just flourish every day a little more and more. So
It's good to have you here, Haley. Thanks for jumping on.
my pleasure.
So I want to propose a question to you moderators with something Nicholas said about, if something is, maybe it's actually Mark and Nick, you might have both alluded to this. If something is like proven and you can make money in the space, it becomes more competitive, right? People enter the fray, as it was said. Then if something's new, there's opportunity to make money where somebody else hasn't made it yet, but then you also don't have the example to follow, right? So I think both of those require different skill sets, right? The one where other people are making money and you can see it, that's like you have to like gladiatorial battle it out with like competitors. But the other one, you like have to have vision, right? So do you think that certain people are more so born for like trying to find their own path, and that's where like people should like identify, like Heather said, with their like find out who they are? Is this part of that identity search to find out if you just like to fight harder than people, or if you're more of a dreamer and then like chisel your path that way? Do you guys have any thoughts on like how you guys also became successful, if you were a grinder or if you were a dreamer?
Norman.
Yeah, sorry, I'll just say you're absolutely right. It's a very astute comment. Someone who is the first in what they're doing, missionary selling, is both incredibly exciting, but it's brutal, and your competitors get to learn at your expense. And if you're the number 2, 3, or 4 player, I think that's a different kind of psychology, and you need to have less of a thick skin. So I think you're right. It's a completely different kind of. It can be a different personality. It's at both spots, and so being the first and only one in a group is not always the best, but sometimes it can be. It just depends on the industry and the circumstance. But I think you're dead right. The psychology of the person is
I actually wanted to jump in, Nick. What you're talking about reminded me of this thing that I heard recently called the Baboon Effect. And essentially, Baboon Effect is baboons will go out and try something and look at the other baboons, and they'll kind of judge and determine you're not going to take all of the opinions. And, the scarcity there is that you are affected by the opinions of others. So at what level do you kind of stumble into something, do it, and then, not really take the opinion of the other, baboons? Or do you just kind of blaze and go forward and kind of create the wheel? So it's just really cool, that concept of stumbling forward. I think I'm really good at that, putting the blinders on and being sort of naive about something and just kind of being curious, and then letting that curiosity kind of instill my passion. Because kids, for example, or animals, they just do things. They do things to discover, and that level of play and that level of trying to see if it's something fun or something interesting, and that curiosity, it's just thrives creativity. And so, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there.
I would piggyback off of what Ellie said. I kind of come at this from a different angle, and maybe a deeper angle than what Ellie's saying even, is that, society has trained us. Like she mentioned, when you're talking about children, very often children just don't care what another child, especially once you get beyond a threshold of age there, the younger the child, the less they care about what anyone else around them is thinking about them or has to say about the certain circumstance or the choice that they're making. And so I think it's an unfortunate truth that as we have grown and matured into adults, we have been trained by the group of people that we were around as children to believe certain things. So for instance, in my case, I wanted to be a model and a fashion designer when I was a child. That was my ultimate dream, was to be a model and fashion designer. And my dad very quickly squashed that by saying, that's dumb, you would be injured, you would be a drug addict, you would be in a terrible world of other people, the people in that world are terrible. That is not what you want for yourself. And so I very quickly, of course, trusting a parent, you believe what they have to say, right? And so I trusted that my dad knew what he was saying, and so I very quickly discarded that, although it's still kept there. And in all fairness, I will someday be in a magazine somewhere. Even if I'm 60 years old and I'm in a Kohl's magazine, I'm okay with that. I will do it someday because I just want to be able to say that I did it. But what I'm saying is that too often we don't explore, we don't trailblaze, because this fear and these walls have been built up by the people that we are surrounded by, that we've trusted as children. So I think that's just where it is. And I think at some point those of us who make the choice to step out and beyond that boundary, that's the moment that we start to live and we start to see abundance in our lives. And that's just the way that I feel about it.
Yes. Thank you, Heather.
Mic drop. That was awesome. So Heather's point about stepping out. Who here up in the panel can identify a point where they went from copying their competitors to start making money to trailblazing, where they switched to try to take the lead? I know Haley's probably got some stories on this. Norman, go for it.
Norman.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Sorry, I'm a bit sick today, so that's kind of why.
Sorry about that.
But yeah, when we first started arbitrage, that was kind of what we were doing, just looking at what our competitors are doing. Oh, they're offering this, we're going to do that. But then as time went by, we started serving people and we started getting more information on our market. Me and my partner Josh kind of felt comfortable just, hey, we're going to do our own thing based off of the information that we have, because we want to see if there's different value propositions out there that people aren't capitalizing on. And then two, we kind of felt it was the time to be different in terms of how we run our company compared to everybody else. And so, there are certain things that we noticed that people wouldn't offer in some markets, especially our market. And so we went down that route and we offered those things. And we took risks where other people perhaps didn't want to take those risks. And we were able to get into places where some people can't get into, some buildings, for example. And so I mean, like the easiest example is having a system is like just creating a foolproof system for like people bringing pets and like just deciding like who gets to stay in our properties and whatnot, and like ensuring that like it's the best fit possible for the community inside of the buildings that we work with. And so, yeah, in that particular case, like we did start off in arbitrage just pretty much copying everybody else, but then like we realized that like we can do better once we got the data on who was staying at our places. And once we got the data on who was staying at our places, we were able to like come up with like independent like value propositions for those people, which like made us different from our competition. Sorry about that.
Thanks for sharing. I hope you feel better soon, man. Sorry to hear that you're sick.
Yeah, ironically, I got COVID. I got my results back this morning.
Ah, well, we're all here rooting for you. I'll send you soup if you want it.
Thank you.
So Norman, that was cool. So what you did is you used data to define new markets, right? To define a new niche in the market or a new offering. And I really think that somebody told me once that data is the new gold. And I think a lot of us, we pivot on data. I would imagine, Nicholas, in your world, you're a fintech, so you probably do a lot of database pivoting too. I know that I have like anecdotal stories of pivoting on data. Haley, if you have any to share, I've witnessed you do some things, right? Where obviously you came in under my flag and started doing Airbnb stuff my way, but then there was a point where you're just like, you know what? Nobody told me this, but I think Sean's wrong, or I want to change something, or like level something up or modify. Do you have any stories where you took the risk and was like, Sean's going to deal with it later, perhaps, to be, original in the way you built your business?
Of course.
How long you got? Yeah.
No. Actually, I felt a little flattered when you were like mentioning trailblazing, and you're like, I bet Haley has some stories. And I was like, I've never really taken the perspective on the things I've done as like I'm trailblazing, but I guess if you mention it, that kind of sounds cool. I'll take it. I think the one thing I was trying to think of, because there's been quite a few things that changes that I've made strictly to actually like help grow the company, we've been joking, making it sound like I'm just like, oh, screw that, but not like that. No, I do really want to help and make things better. So the one thing I think I was excited to share is whenever, and we haven't quite completed this yet, it's still in the process, but I really like the supply and distribution plan we started working on with what we called our bin system. One thing that we had going, what we were doing is we were just asking our housekeeping team to keep things on hand, like extra towels or coffee or shampoo with them when they go to clean, so that they can restock these items. And it was just also a lot for me to give out to the cleaners. And I was like, we really need a different like way to do this. Something that, there's often opportunities where, the shampoo empties out or the coffee empties out, and even if the cleaner ran out of what they had and they're going to another apartment, they have nothing left to refill that item with. I really kind of like sat down and tried to come up with a new way to do that. And, it's really complicated and it'll take forever to explain. But point is, we ended up with like, main storage unit, and then area storage unit, and then these bins that are within the apartments. And it helps the cleaners and us even keep better track of not only what we have, but like a quicker way to respond when an item runs out. And once we complete that, I'll be super thrilled and feel like we're really like stepping up our game. But that's a good one to share.
Gosh, I love that, Haley. I need to plug into your brain. Like, seriously, plug into your brain.
I can say the same about you. I'd have fun with you, for sure. Let's chat.
So I have an interesting story on this, because it is the story of how our business started, actually, Sean. So
super fun.
You're talking about a situation where you were following and you were doing what the competition was doing, and then you had to step out and create something on your own. So that is the story of how Stay Life started, because the reality of Stay Life is it used to be a different company. So we were under the flag of this other company, and we were running the entire Park City market for this other company. And so and we had already made relationships with all of these owners here, and so then the day came for us to say sayonara to this other company, due to other factors, obviously. But when we launched Staylux, it was very easy to step into that's the way they did it. That's the way we knew it was done. And, this guy was successful or that guy was successful. And so we're just going to adopt everything that this previous company that we were working for was doing. And there came a moment fairly early on where I looked at my business partner and I was like, hell no, this is not what I want for Staylux. I want for Staylux to be its own entity, for us to use our own brains and create something that is different than what we knew. Yeah, that worked on some level, but that doesn't mean that I can't trust my gut when my gut is telling me that's not the way you want your housekeeping to be taken care of. That's not the language that you want in your owner agreement. That's not what your pitch deck should look like. And so, yeah, definitely when you are launching something out on your own, trust your gut and follow it, because there's a reason why your quote unquote gut is telling you to do that. It's because it's telling you to be true to yourself and run with what you have, because guess what? We all have value to offer. And so trying to, keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, and staying in that model is not going to serve you. No one here, the listening, do not keep up with the Joneses. That will not serve you in the end.
My best friend would say the same thing. You're giving great advice. We don't necessarily agree because I'm super spendy, but he just yesterday told me that that's a dumb idea to keep up with the Joneses. So Ellie just had to leave, but I think this is an opportunity to reset the room and actually more formally introduce how you can get in contact with these moderators. And I'll start with Ellie in her absence. So Ellie is a co-host with 20 plus properties. She focuses on luxury property co-hosting in various states across the country. And you can find her on her Instagram at Home Slice Stays. She's always been in these rooms. She's really helpful. She's obviously very resourceful. And she's a great person to follow. So if you didn't follow her while she was up here, go find her on Instagram at Home Slice Stays. Heather, is she back? No, that's Robert. So Heather, can you tell us, where can people find you? What are you great at? And what can you, for what reasons should people reach out to you for?
Wow, that's a lot. That's a mouthful. Well, they can find me obviously on Instagram and you can find that in my bio as well. It's Staylux Luxury Vacation Homes. What am I good at? My superpower is organization. I am an organizational queen. Everything has a home. Let's put it that way. I believe that with every part of my being, that everything has a home and should be in that home. So that's probably my superpower. I also just really I'm very passionate about design. It's been something that's been in my blood for as long as I can remember, is visual coordination, where furniture should be placed in order for it to feel aesthetically pleasing to any person walking into that space, colors, textures, all of that. So and again, you can find all that stuff in my bio. I'm just here. Honestly, I came onto Clubhouse, was invited by Julie George, and have really, really enjoyed it because I gain a whole lot more information than what I have to offer, but I'm always happy to offer whatever I have. So if you feel like, I've got anything that seems like it's, makes sense to you, then feel free to follow me. And I would encourage you to follow all the moderators up here as well.
Heather, I only have one question. Can you send me all of your crocheting models so I can get my wife to start making me various decor for my short-term rentals?
It's interesting that you would say that. Okay, so there is a little bit of backstory here. I don't have a whole lot of crochet patterns anymore for two reasons. One, because my studio went 5 feet underwater during the flood in Baton Rouge, so I lost almost my entire studio. Two, because I've been doing this for 40 years, so I typically write my own patterns now. So, yeah.
So when can I get you and my wife together on a hot date so you can show her this? Because she's making too much baby stuff and I need her to start making stuff for my short-term rentals.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, no, she could make some amazing throws. I mean, people love throws in short-term rentals, and they're super, quick and easy to make. Yeah, I'm hip to that. I'm all about that.
That's awesome. Oh, Mike. Okay, Norman. Same question, my man. If you got the the fortitude, where can people find you? Why should they contact you? What are you good at?
So you can find me. You can find me on Instagram. Just go on my Clubhouse bio at norm.hamilton. And if you honestly just if you want to talk about travel, if you want to talk about Airbnb, if you want to talk about just scaling a short-term rental business, at least in Houston, I'm always down to talk. And my superpower is definitely administration, particularly on the software side. So, like my team is really just me, my business partner, and our housekeeping manager. And we also have 2 virtual assistants that pretty much just run like the entire company for me. I come in every now and then, whenever I have to, or just to like give them leadership advice. But my superpower is definitely administration, just like outlining the processes, setting everything up, and then like just helping my team succeed wherever they have to. And so like this is one of those days where I can't work, so I just have to trust my team and trust the training that me and my partner gave them to get everything done. I mean that's pretty much it, man.
So thanks for sharing, and please feel better soon. Mark, same question.
Hi, yeah, you can find me on my Instagram or at my email, which is mark@staycozy.com, and that's Kozee. I focus on the ownership model, and that's having properties unique properties in destination markets. So examples, first market that I've gone into is the Smoky Mountain, where I have some log cabins there. I'm looking for to expand there, but also expand into other markets. So feel free to connect with chat, bounce things off of. I'm always looking to just meet new people in the industry, get new ideas from them, and hopefully add some value to them as well. And if you have any properties that fit that criteria, I'm willing to look into them and help somebody out and invest or joint venture with them. If I were to guess any kind of superpower, I would say I like to try to understand the guest experience from A to Z, from the first second that I know they exist all the way through and beyond their stay, and try to make every point in that experience better than they expect it to be. And one of the things I really enjoy trying to do is trying to figure out the best way to improve that experience, even when it's something that they'll never be able to point a finger at. So if you have anything that can fit into that, give me a shout. Thanks.
Sounds good. Maybe we'll all just come up to the Smoky Mountains and visit, and we can talk there.
Come on down, y'all.
Haley, next. Same thing. Tell us about you, where they can find you, why they should reach out to you, what you're awesome at, etc.
All right. So my name's Haley. I work for Sean. I'm the director of operations over the Airbnb business he has. You can find me on Instagram, which my username is Haley_Rochelle. You can see that at my bio as well. And I'm also on Clarity. So I love to help people. As I mentioned before, I'm very passionate about helping other people. And I also love puzzles. So I think one of the things I'm really, really good at is solving unique problems. If there's something that you're just really stumped on operationally or customer service wise, or some kind of like system that you don't know how to put together to make it work for your business, bring it to me, because I totally would love to. I challenge you to bring me a new problem I've never solved before, and I want to figure it out for you. So feel free to reach out. I'm here if you need me.
And Nicholas, pleasure to meet you, by the way. Totally cool insights from a completely different pillar of expertise. Same questions for you.
Well, thanks, Sean. And the Get Rich Quick title got me. That's why I joined. So I'm Nick Stuller. I'm the founder and the CEO of My Perfect Financial Advisor. You can reach me at my Twitter account. And really, my superpower is I know an awful lot about advisors, and I'm really excited to bash all the myths that are out there. The primary one is you got to be a millionaire or even have any money in the market to get an advisor, and it drives me nuts to see all these to see people not know what to do with personal finances. And the reality is there is an advisor for everybody. And my site's free. You can get matched there, or reach me directly if you have questions. Happy to answer any questions or help people out if you're wondering if you need an advisor or what kind, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what I'm all about, is trying to improve people's lives by getting them the right financial advisor. But thanks for having me up, and great to meet everybody.
Yeah, it's great to have you guys. So, by the way, we're still live streaming to YouTube. Some people have asked for your links. So if any of you moderators want me to transcribe your links into the YouTube bio, because this will live on YouTube, just DM me your links so that way I can put them in, because we had a comment request for that so people could find you guys. I want to add something fun to this whole get rich quick like conversation. Well, obviously getting rich quick, it depends on how fast quick is, right? Like we can define that like faster than normal or faster than your competitors. But if we're gonna make a mega list of things that people could do or be or learn to get rich faster, I think we've touched on a lot of these. So let's see if you guys can help me compile one. One, of course, is like be the best at something. If you're better than your competitors, you'll make more money faster. Another one, who said something about being passionate, right? Being passionate keeps you more durable in a market. Who else has items to add to this list of things that help you become successful faster?
Sean, I'll add one very quick one, and that is, and in my opinion, it's the cheapest way to make your product better, which means people will buy faster. Listen intently to your clients. Just, if your clients say, I want this or that, just listen intently and try to get their feedback, because they'll tell you. And I find that to be the cheapest product development, and making a product means more people buy it faster. So my 2 cents.
I've got a couple.
Floor is yours.
So one is find someone or something that fills in the gaps that you have. Kind of what we talked about before. We all have strengths, but then what are the weaknesses that we have that we either need to find someone, something, whether it's technology or something else, that's going to fill that gap for you. And the other, it's kind of related to gaps in a way, is I always think of the word Moneyball. And if you've ever heard of that or know what it is, basically it's finding the inefficiencies in the system and taking advantage of those inefficiencies. So I use that word as a key to look at an inefficiency or what's missing in any industry and try to take advantage of that by providing what's missing there. That's it.
So, Sean, I would say one key word is leverage. So leverage what your assets are, whether it's intellectual, physical, human, whatever it is, leverage the assets that you have. So let's take your business as a good example, right? So you're leveraging your intellect on one level because you're coaching. So you're going to make money off that because it already exists. You're not producing anything. Your intellect already exists. So you are leveraging that intellect and making money off of it. And anytime that you are reducing your overhead by already having an asset in place, you are going to make money faster. And so the same thing, let's look at what my business is, where I'm leveraging someone else's property. I don't have to go and buy this property. Somebody else already did that. So I'm leveraging this physical property in order to make money faster. So to me, leverage is a key word to getting to what your financial goals. And I'm not even talking about getting rich. I'm just saying set a financial goal, right? Like I'm not looking to be a millionaire. That's not my personality. If I ever do become a millionaire, great, because that means I can give back, right? That's my only goal if I ever become a millionaire, is to give back. So, but I do have financial, hopes, dreams, and goals, right? But so in order to get to those financial goals quicker, leverage what already exists instead of trying to reinvent the wheel.
That was really good. You guys are awesome. If I can try to add something fresh, I would say one way to get rich faster is to know your role. because teams are the way to make big money nowadays, right? So knowing your role. If you're going to be the best at something, that's like being a specialist. You deep dive. But understand if you're more of a generalist, if you are good at connecting the dots, and if you're good at connecting dots, then you're gonna be good at connecting people and understanding how those people work together in different silos. And so knowing your role helps you know how you add value to the team. And as you build a team, you won't try to fill every single position on the team because it's your business, and you won't like stomp around and of course like put people out. One of the biggest reasons why leaders who are very talented tend to fail, which they talk about in this book, Multipliers, is that they're so good and so talented that they actually reduce how powerful their team is because they're capable of kind of doing everything, and they don't let their team like run. They don't give their team room to run. So if you know your role and you're happy with just filling the role that suits you best, you can give things to people who are better than you. And building a team that way is going to be a really good way to get rich faster, by leveraging people who are better than you at stuff and supporting them. For example, like Haley, she's much more organized, and she thinks things through more than me. But I'm like this fearless, like just run and gun, let's build. And so I can put the company under a ton of growth pressure. And she's like on the back, she's like in the wake, trying to make sure things don't fall apart, because I'm just like so growth oriented that I didn't think of like all the little things. So that's mine. Anybody have another one they want to add? Okay, cool, awesome. So with that said, guys, I don't want this one to go terribly long. I'd like this actually to be done by 11, so because obviously these moderators probably have plenty to do, and we tend to give our time until we adjourn. So I'd like to open up for a raise of hands if anybody's got any questions or any stories they want to share, and over the next 10 minutes, and then we're going to close this room down. So anybody in the audience have a get-rich-quick story, success question, like a question for the moderators? Or in the YouTube group. We got one. Hold on one second. Come on board, Felicia. Welcome to the front.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Welcome to Clubhouse. We see that little party popper.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, my husband and I, actually, we've been following you for a while now. We actually just started our short-term rental business in November of 2019. We watched all your videos and we try to follow your models because we noticed that, you definitely have a knack for this. So we're actually in the space where we can grow faster. We just connected with a new company. Actually, I'm in Houston, Texas, just by the way. And so right now we're at 6 units. We just got 2 more. It's been quite hectic because I have an infant. He's 6 months old. And so since COVID hit, I kind of took over the business while I was pregnant. I was cleaning the units up until like 8.5 months, and then finally brought on a cleaner. But now we're in the space where we can grab more units faster. But my husband works in Galveston. He's an hour away. And it's just really limiting to have an infant and trying to run this business full time. So he's trying to decide, or we're both trying to decide if or when he should leave his full-time job. I have faith that we can do it, but the question is, I guess, like, when do you know that it's the right time to do so?
Man, that is a good question. When do you know it's the right time to jump from something safe for the sake of growth? So I don't have children. I'm also not married, so I don't have those specific obstacles. And like, obviously no one relies on me aside from maybe the people within my companies. I mean, I would boil it down to a math problem, really. If you know you can pick up more properties and you have the finances to invest into those properties, and you have data on how much money you're making per property, you can say, okay, so how many new properties would we need to cover his loss of income plus loss of benefits, etc. And if he's making, say $50,000 or $100,000 a year, 2 separate examples, if you're making $1,000 per house, that's $5,000 or $10,000 per month if you pick up 5 or 10 properties. So I would do the math, be like, how many listings should we go for, and how long can we go without his income safely, where if he quits and then we grow, like, can we pick up 5 properties within the next 6 weeks, and will that cover his loss of income? Are we cool with losing his income for 6 weeks, right? That would be the math problem that I would do.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. Because I think, like, I definitely feel like we're comfortable enough. Like, I have enough savings just in case. So I'm not necessarily worried about that part. But then the bigger question is that, so we haven't necessarily been paying ourselves. We've just been reinvesting in the business. And so that's where I'm like, I don't know exactly how to even pay myself to know exactly how much we can put towards the business or pay ourselves to support our, our lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
Go for it,
I
Heather.
assume you have maybe a written budget, like a household written budget, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's obviously step number one. So you've already crossed that hurdle. That's an interesting question too, because that speaks to a lot of what I had to deal with when I first launched my business, because I was in the same boat. I'm like, wait a minute, how do I pay myself? What does that look like, right? When you own a business versus getting, you're a W-2 employee of some other business. So my suggestion for you is to just, try to find a financial advisor or an accountant in your area that you trust. That's where I got most of my answers from. And I'll be honest with you, I still am lost about some things. I'm like, just when I came to the end of the year and I had a profit after 6 months and I'm doing my taxes for 2020, I'm like, what the hell? I'm clearly doing something wrong here. How do I have a profit after 6 months? What did I do wrong? Should I have been pulling more of an owner draw? This, that, and the other thing. All these questions went through my mind. I mean, obviously, we were, my partner and I were living comfortably in our own spaces at that point, but yes, there are a lot of question marks when you've never done this before, so don't feel like you're the lone stranger on that one, but really find somebody who knows what they're doing so that you understand owner draw versus, being an employee, those types of things. There are differences involved there, and there are thresholds that your accountant will tell you about when it makes sense to move from being an owner draw versus being, counting yourself as an employee of your own company, that sort of thing. So, and don't feel bad that it's confusing. I'll be honest with you, it's still somewhat confusing to me. That's definitely not my superpower.
All right, thank you so much.
So, and one thing, Ellie's back in the room, and Ellie actually, she's been building her business as a single mother as well. She's actually got a few kids, if I remember, and she's been just grinding it out. So Ellie's a good example of like being able to, be super mom, and of course be a gigantic business owner as well. So I would probably connect with her if you want a little community.
John. Felicia, reach out. I'm happy to help. I just think, like, going back to our initial conversation about being curious and being passionate, when you're curious, you're stupid and you fumble into things, and you can't feel bad about being stupid about stuff. You just got to move on. That braces you to kind of feel your passions in the future, because like you're going to fail 900 million thousand times probably every day. It's just how fast you can continue to pick up and keep up the pace that determines your success.
So I will say that I love the fact that all of you guys are like team passion, and I'm like the only one that's team curiosity in this group, which is so fun.
Curious.
Yeah, it's wild because passion, of course, is the fire, right? Like, I love this. This is exciting. This is cool. I'm doing it. And by doing something, you get more familiar with it, and you eventually become an expert at something that you're passionate about because you're willing to put in the effort. But I think that curiosity is more meticulous, right? You see something happen and you're curious as to how it works, and you tinker with it. You dig as deep as you can because you insist on knowing the truth of the matter, right? I think that both passion and curiosity can grow from the other, right? I think they kind of like wax and wane into each other a little bit. And maybe I'm biased because Beethoven, he made a quote about obsessing over the details of the thing that you throw your life into and get into all of its little secrets. And I've translated that into curiosity. And I know that a lot of where I've developed passion, curiosity actually was like the precursor to me becoming passionate, because my curiosity got me into a detail of something. That discovery of the detail, I'm like, holy cow, this is super cool. Then I became passionate. So I'm team curiosity, but I think they both obviously are valid.
I think you're right, Sean. I classify you as the type of person that likes to chase shiny things, right? And so I think that there's a place for that. And I would submit to you that Haley balances what you're doing. So you are the person.
The words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. So you're the one who's curious, and I would submit persistent.
So you're curious first, and then you're persistent at going down the rabbit hole on whatever it is that you are curious about. And then you pass that baton to Haley, and she executes for what it is that you started out with curiosity. And I could be totally wrong on that, but that's kind of the indications that I'm picking up from you guys. And I think that both are equally important, and they balance each other. And it's the reason why your business works as well as it does. That's just my thoughts on that.
Thanks, Heather. I totally agree. I've always said yin and yang for sure.
Yeah, and I agree too. I'll put something together with duct tape and popsicle sticks and make a machine, and then she comes back and she's like, all right, let's actually use some real parts to make a real machine. These popsicle sticks were cool, but they're gonna break, so let's fix that.
Right.
For sure. So everybody, you've been listening to the Airbnb Automated Club. There is a greenhouse at the top. If you click that greenhouse, you'll follow the club. Now, as you've seen, these moderators have actually shared some pretty cool anecdotes, and I know we went a little bit tangential because the whole like get rich quick like moral of the story here, what I wanted to communicate was, I wanted obviously the moderators to kind of like grow this, and I was imagining that we would end up in this spot where like you can get rich fast if you do something no one else is doing, but then of course you need to be super self-assured and grind and to stay ahead of the pack, because people will see it. They'll see it as you do it. If you build something new, people will see it, and then they'll start to compete with you. And some of our moderators actually touched on that. So I would recommend you guys follow these moderators, because not only are they really good at what they do professionally, the specific things that their hamster wheel to make money, but as you can tell, they're extremely thoughtful, philosophical, and their knowledge is broad. And you'll find that as you grow and become a business owner or become, independently like employed, where you're not in the machine anymore, that as you broaden your knowledge, like the moderators up here, all the little random stuff that you learn will at one point find its way into your business and will like change the way that you run your company. Just the weirdest stuff that you learned along the way that you thought was never connected will turn into a profit, or turn into choosing your path, or like saving you money down the road. So continue to learn about as many different topics as you can, and that's why I recommend you follow these moderators. Follow anybody who's a thought leader and listen to them speak and listen intently. So I really appreciate you all being here. If you missed the very beginning of this was live streamed to YouTube. And you can come back and hear these moderators speak again. And so for you moderators that want to be included in the thumbnail for this, or you want me to include any of your links in the description, please send me a DM, and I will include you into the permanently memorialized version of this on Facebook. And with that said, or on YouTube, sorry guys. With that said, any moderators who want to say something to the audience on the way out, kind of on the topic, feel free to hit the floor and say goodbye and give some people some sound advice on the way out. Wow. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, I think we all have probably a pretty big, long day. So what we're going to do is we're just going to shut this bad boy down. And as always, I will see you on the other side.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day, everybody.